Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast. We're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast that brings you topical and relevant Packers news along with our most humble and subjective opinions. This is episode 286. We're recording this on a Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. The Packers move on to their first home game of the season in week 2 against the Colts after they lost to the Eagles in the very first NFL international game held in Brazil last Friday. This is a video episode, so just reminding you guys that you can head over to YouTube and watch us there. Otherwise, continue listening to the podcast episode version. I'm your host, Tay, and with me, as always, is our
Ren. What up, Tay? How you doing, man? How you feeling a few days after Sao Paulo?
Well, I mean, the loss was a little bit, sobering a little bit. I think we all kind of either saw what we wanted to see or thought the Packers were, or were just slapped in the face with reality of what the Packers actually are. And I'd like to get your take on that. But, we kind of fell off. You and I kind of fell off the map this weekend a little bit. We didn't really chat a whole lot. You gave me a lot of doom and gloom, so I kind of stayed away from you, Ren, a little bit. But the whole, landing, and we found out as an MCL sprain on Jordan Love. Press conference yesterday, Monday.
I had pinpointed that for you. I had told you that was kind of our best case scenario coming out.
So we had the press conference yesterday. Matt LaFleur indicating, no, we're not looking for anybody. No one's coming in here. Malik Willis is our guy, and he's going to be the guy until Jordan Love can play. And if Jordan Love isn't cleared, then Malik is going to be the QB1 with Clifford behind him. So that's where we're at right now, Ren. And so we leave this loss in Sao Paulo with a banged up, injured quarterback that's not going on IR, but he is going to be out for 3 to 6 weeks. And it seems like from the coach speak, LaFleur style, it almost seems like either he's baiting everybody into thinking that it's going to be sooner, or it actually is going to be sooner. And that this sprain, this MCL sprain, or I like to call the MCL cramp, is maybe a little bit less than we think it is. And he'll be back sooner than later. So tell me what you think about Jordan Love's kind of return here. What do you think about this injury? How long do you think he'll be out?
Per things I hear today, Inside Intel says the Packers in the building think he can be back in 2 weeks. Yep. And it could even be faster than that. Remember, Aaron Rodgers in 2018 left a game against the Chicago Bears with an MCL sprain and also patellar tendon issue. Got it, shot up, got it braced, and came back and beat the Chicago Bears by 1 point in that game. He wasn't even out a game today. He came back and played in that game. You had me, we were talking about when this happened. Yeah, I'm a doom and gloom guy. I mean, I was pretty upset about obviously losing. We'll get to that here in a minute. All the scary things in Brazil, all week leading up. Oh, Brazil's scary. The only thing scary, Tay, about this game was the darn playing field, which I brought up. We're going to talk about that. And the injury on the third last play of the game. That was the only thing scary about Brazil. I heard great things from a lot of people that went down there, enjoyed the city, a huge city, had some, went to some amazing Brazilian steakhouses, etc. But getting back to Jordan, I'm looking at what's grade 1, what's grade 2, what's grade 3. They classify this between a 1 and a 2. A 1 for most young people, we're talking 2 weeks stay. Most people, especially in Jordan, you have the best doctors in the world. You have a young body ready to heal. If it's more towards a 1, misses 2 games stay. That's why he's not on IR. They think even potentially by the end of the week, again, they saw Aaron do stuff. Could he pop in? Sure. Do I think he's going to play on Sunday against the Colts? No, I do not. Could he play the following against Tennessee? Yeah, I think he could. It really depends on, is this more towards a 2 or a 1? If it's more towards the 1, it might be just one game, and here we go. Getting back to Brazil, though, this was a sloppy game. and I don't think we learned like this is what the Packers are, because I think you look across the NFL, how things went down on Sunday, Sunday night, Monday. You saw a lot of sloppy play in general. You saw sloppy play from Jordan, throwing off his back foot a lot, missing guys behind. You saw sloppy play from their wide receivers. If you're not a guy named Jaden Reed, you played like crap in that game today. I'm sorry. If you're a receiver on the Green Bay Packers, you didn't play well. You look at Jay Reed, I mean, he puts up 171 yards of total offense. I mean, I don't think you had another guy over 20 yards in the whole receiving corps today. That's how bad they were. You're starting to see guys like Tucker Kraft maybe be TE1, not Musgrave. So you start to get things. You finally see him later in the game bring in Edgerrin Cooper, and guess who's maybe a better middle linebacker way better than Quay Walker, better than Isaiah McDuffie.
Preaching to the choir.
You got 11 plays of this guy, and he stood out. You got the first test of Jeff Hafley's defense. He blitzed less on average than a Joe Barry defense today. Does that make a heck of a lot of sense to you? Not to me. It sure doesn't. This is a team that had 2 turnovers early in the game, should have been up 14-0. If they're up 14-0 today, this thing's dead to rights. Keep in mind, those Reed scores happened in the second quarter. What is this, 28-0? 28-7? I mean, they're going to destroy this team. First weeks are going to be what they are. I get it. But I don't think they put enough pressure on Hurts, who did not throw the ball well. He really didn't. Sure, a couple plays. Jair got beat on that one, talking smack. But you're going to get beat by A.J. Brown. He's one of the best in the business, too. I think Jair needs a chirp at the end of the game, not in the middle of the game. You let a 7-minute drive happen in the fourth quarter. You can't do that. They end up essentially half that quarter, and you lose. You can't miss field goals when he's banging them all night long, and then he misses one. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That field, though, Tay, we talked about last week, and it popped in my head. Do you remember me talking about that? I said,
sure, but no one really knew. We didn't know what it was going to be like.
Exactly.
We just knew it's grass, and we kind of like, well, yeah, probably is grass.
Yeah, I said one of the things that kind of got me thinking, though, I'm like, what's the field surface going to be like? Does either team know? And then you have guys like Kenny Clark straight up saying the field, quote unquote, was trash. There were divots in the ground, like clay pulling up, because it's a soccer field. It's meant for speed, etc. Those teams were not prepared. You saw guys on both sides of the ball for the Eagles and the Packers slipping all over the place. This game was an absolute mess when it came to the field. And it was a mess from 2 teams that clearly are trying to work through, the first game of the season after, obviously playing all the starters on both sides of the football for both teams, really about a quarter's worth of play in the entire preseason. This is what we get now for football. You saw it on Friday night. Hey, nice high-scoring game against, I think, 2 pretty evenly matched teams. Now, I think the Packers beat themselves and really should have beat the Eagles. And now you're out without Jordan for 1 to 4 weeks. And at least you got 1 win on your belt. But now you're behind the 8 ball, and that just really stinks because they had a huge opportunity to win that football game. You got things like Keyshawn Nixon on that last kick into the end zone, jumping up in the air to catch a ball and then running it out. And then Matt LaFleur falling on the sword today or yesterday saying, hey, that's on me. I didn't communicate that well enough. All he's doing is taking it on his onus this time. And then he says, it won't happen again. Fine. Yeah. Take it upon, if that's a Rich issue or that's a Keyshawn issue or really it's both. Like, those kind of things can't happen when you need to be in position to make smart heads-up football plays. And really, that comes down to Keyshawn. He's the player on the field. You got to make a smart heads-up football play. But the penalties in this game today, I thought it was not called well against Green Bay. There are some real suspect holding calls on Jair Alexander on point, Kenny Clark. I mean, you just had a litany of stuff not go well for the Packers that inevitably, and some of it was really self-inflicted again, that end up losing a football game. In my opinion, they had no business losing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was definitely opportunity for them to walk out with a win. But I think you kind of highlighted a lot of the different issues that the Packers had during that game in your comments there. So I'm not gonna, you know, kind of reiterate them too fully, but I thought that this Packers team, they some players did really good things, and then those same players did really bad things. And I think you had a kind of a both sides of the coin for a lot of players. Like you saw some really good things, and then they turn around and make a mistake, and that's kind of what cost them the game. They just couldn't put these things together. They all couldn't, align correctly. But that last drive that the Eagles had that took over like 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, that squashed any hope that this Packers team was going to come back and score more points. They By that point, both defenses were exhausted, and we couldn't get our defense off the field, and it just kept going and going and going. They were tired, and then like that fourth down conversion, and it was like, oh, this is over now. Like we have no chance. They could not get off the field. I think that was the deal breaker, and that was, the pendulum like just swinging too far to the one side, and they just couldn't bounce back. And then you're relying on Hail Marys, and you get the Keyshawn Nixon coming out and wasting valuable seconds when you could try to get down there. And then you're leaving points off the board. You're not making field goals. Penalties to negate touchdowns. These are all things that you need to work through and knock the rust off. And that's what this is. This was a preseason game. We always talk about this. It's like they they take the first couple weeks to shake all that rust off, and clearly the Packers needed it. And so, what do you think if we walked out of there with a win? What does our audience think? Like, do you feel better? Like, okay, this is fine. Like, just kind of sweep some of these issues underneath the rug. Like, are you walking away going, oh man, we just got out of there by the skin of our teeth, and we have to totally work on things now and get better. I mean, yes, I think there's both. We'd say that too, but we'd feel a lot better if it was a W, but it in fact was a loss, and I think that really hurt. And then the cherry on top is Jordan Love getting hurt on a play maybe you don't even think would happen if you were in a better position during that game. And um, and then Malik Willis, that last play, that sack, man, that Hail Mary sack was kind of a metaphor for the whole game. It's like, oh, the Packers are right there trying their hardest, and then no, boom, in the dirt.
I mean, I
Game
think when you see
0-0.
Jordan go out and get helped off the field at that point, it doesn't matter. It's not going anywhere, and they swarmed. They even swarmed Jordan on that play. I mean, you saw Jalen Carter. He went low, the other guy went high. Was not a big fan of that look. Thankfully, it sounds like he's going to be all right here. But yeah. I mean, I would feel better simply because it's the win, especially given Jordan being out for some number of weeks. Because then at least you got one under your belt. But no, that doesn't solve everything. You'd still be able to point to a lot of sloppy play on offense. Again, Jordan is easily looked at and picked on in this game. I mean, you're talking his completion percentage in the 50s. Not good today. Again, throwing off the back foot, inaccurate, behind guys. There were some drops that would have helped that out, but he's got to be better than that. You got to step through the football. It's like he regressed from the things he was doing well in the second half of the season last year. But again, he's not had action again. He's getting back in the groove. So he would be picked on. Jeff Hafley playing some single high as we knew he would, playing man coverage, but then at times not sending enough pressure, not doing things to get Jalen. Jalen's already thrown bad balls as it is. Think about what other opportunities maybe you could have had if you did put a little pressure on this guy. So I think there are places everywhere to pick on them, even if they got a W coming out of this one.
And okay, Jordan Love goes out. This whole weekend was like doom and gloom. Bring in Ryan Tannehill. We got to do something. Malik's our guy. What? I just kind of ignored it all, Ren.
I was Team Tannehill, Tay. Still Team Tannehill.
You are too. And so I'm just like, let's get him back in the building. Let's get him back home. Get the MRI. Let's see what this is. I'm not freaking out. And the reason is because this isn't all about Jordan Love. Like, yeah, he's our quarterback. We just paid him the money, but I didn't want to pay him that much money. He's our starting quarterback, of course, and it all hinges on him to a degree. But this rest of this team has got to step up and fix their mistakes too. You can ride a bad quarterback. We all know. We see Rex Grossman, Brunell. Their name them all, and you can get to the Super Bowl with a bad quarterback. You can. The rest of these guys, the rest of this team needs to shape up and get better and knock that rust off. This doesn't all rely on Jordan Love. It sucks because he just got the contract and everyone crowned him the next Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And that's why we're so upset about this. And he's our franchise quarterback. We can't have him go out. Well, it turns out, okay, 3 to 6 weeks. And you bring in Malik Willis, who, whether you think he's it or not, he's gonna be it. He's the guy that's gonna start. Brian Gutekunst brought him in, and he's gonna be the guy. You have to go with him. Start relying on everyone else around him to learn the playbook, get better, execute. Take the pressure off Malik this week against the Colts. Do it. Like, that's what you have to do.
This week.
That's what Goods. Yeah, that step up for your backup quarterback. Like, do it. Like, these guys have to. These guys are professionals. Good teams do that. So I'm like, whatever. Like, let's just go with Malik Willis. He'll be fine. I think he'll be fine. I might eat crow later.
That makes one of us, Jay.
Who's to say Ryan Tannehill comes in here just because he has way more experience and that's
he's actually won in the playoffs, Jay. Yeah, he has won in the playoffs.
Yeah. So what? Why
isn't
he
on
a
my point, Jay. He knows a version of the offense. He has actually played in big games. Malik Willis has been awful in the starts he's had. You can't polish a turd, Tay. Sorry to say it. And that's what you're going to watch on Sunday. I'm not rooting against Malik, but I know what's coming. It's not going to look pretty. I think you're going to see some Sean Clifford action in this game as well, because it's going to tell you how bad it's going for Malik. No, I was Team Tannehill because, yeah, you do bring in a vet at this point, Tay. You don't give up any draft capital. You don't lose anything. Do you have to put your money where your mouth is a little bit? Sure you do. But guess what? If anything else happens the rest of the season, you got a vet. You paid for your vet. You got a guy there. Do it. I know that Diana Rossini said, yeah, they reached out. Then Tom Pelissero said, no, they didn't. I don't know where's the truth lie. I'm not real sure. It. So and I wanted to say that Brian Gutekunst, somebody pointed out, his agent, apparently the Goody has an agent, is the same agent as Ryan Tannehill. So it's not like, they probably at least touch base. Okay. Sure. But again, you don't have any draft cap to give up. You've got a proven vet. If he's back in a week, 2 weeks, doesn't matter. And then you're not worrying about, the turd I got to polish behind me comes in. We ain't doing nothing. You see guys that are super talented, like Caleb Williams in his first action in the NFL. He can't even put up 100 yards passing. He was not good for the rookie QBs out there this weekend, Tay. They were not good. And now you're telling me that Malik Willis is going to win us football games? I don't know if you recall what Wendell Faria had to say when he was with us, Tay, but he was not a fan and didn't think this guy could do much for you based on what he brings to the table, and nor do I. I back the pack. I hope he does well, Tay, but I don't believe he's going to. And that may be doom and gloom, and that's the Ren I brought for you today to talk to. But yeah, that's the reality. And to beat another running quarterback in Anthony Richardson this weekend, and then you got Malik, who, yeah, he's got some wheels, but can he throw an accurate pass? Doubt it, Tay.
You doubt it, but we don't know. You don't know. You don't have enough evidence to say. You saw Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt in the preseason, and Goody cuts them both. So that's not the answer. And people calling for Sean, it's like, well, I'd rather give Malik Willis the chance to see him play in real action because he has before, and give him the shot. If Malik Willis, totally craps the bed, fine. Bring in Tannehill, see if that will happen. But this is what he was brought in for anyway. Like, you have to, in some regard, give him a chance or trust in Goody that he was making the right decision to draft for someone that he thought was better than the two that he cut. And that's where we're at. You might say he's a turd, but he's a better turd than Clifford and Pratt, obviously, right?
Well, here's the thing, though. At this point, he's had the playbook for a couple weeks. To at least Sean Clifford knows the personnel in the building. Has played with personnel for, a year and XYZ months in another training camp. He's played with those guys in practice, many times. They know each other. Yeah, I'm afraid of the Sean Clifford interception Brett balls too, but at least I know he knows the system and he knows the guys. And you're going to go start Mr. Unknown, who, yeah, he's got some wheels, but he's a massively inaccurate passer. Ugh, get out of here. It's going to be a dumpster fire tag.
Wow, I love the optimism here. I love how you're already writing checks for Ryan Tannehill.
God, I can't wait to be wrong and you to just shove that in my face.
Yeah,
because I hope to hell that you get to do that.
Okay, well, I'll double down here. This is what's going to happen. We're going to have Malik Willis is going to dominate this game. He's going to throw for like 3 touchdowns. He's going to run for like $120. We're going to dominate the Indianapolis Colts in our own home. And then it's the revenge game next week after that against Tennessee down in Nashville, where Malik goes to play his former team and he just dominates that one too. It's going to be great. And then boom, Jordan Love's back, and we're still rolling. We're still rolling. We're 2-1, and we're not out of this yet.
Again, the reason I wanted Tannehill today is because I do believe that when you do play the Colts, when you do play the Titans, play the Vikings, play the Rams, play the Cards, if it ends up being a long-term thing, you can come out of there with maybe a 500 record. Malik Willis, do we have a dub on the list at all during that time? So, and if you find yourself with one, let's say you find yourself with one, you're 1-5. You are behind the 8 ball. And I don't think that's the risk worth taking. I just don't. They must know something, intel inside the building that we don't take, that they're not worried about that.
That's what I was going to bring up. This might be what they're thinking. Oh, we just need one game here. Like Love will be back. He's fine. He could even maybe go this week. But no, it's a home game. We'll handle this. And we'll just take it if we have to, take the L if we have to. But I don't know. I can see that as an actual possibility of what they're thinking here. And if that's the case, fine. Let's see what your backup quarterback has. Maybe Malik Willis isn't the QB2 by, by week 8 or something, by the bye week, he's not even here. It's someone else. And that might be the case, but we'll see. So you got to back the pack, Ren. You got to get behind this. This is going to happen.
Oh, Jay, I back the pack 100%. It just doesn't mean I'm a Malik Willis truther. I'm just not that.
So. I'm not necessarily either.
I want him to win. I'm going to be rooting the hell out of Malik Tay. I don't want Malik to fail. I just don't think that he'll succeed.
I know, but I don't think we know enough. We haven't seen enough to make the judgment. I know I haven't, so I can't say. And we've seen Pratt and we've seen Clifford. We know we can make an honest opinion judgment about that. Malik Willis, I just don't think we're there yet. We can't do it. That's all I'm saying.
I think there's other tape in Tennessee that kind of tells you.
I remember watching him in the preseason. I kind of liked his.
Were you drinking on one of those days?
Probably. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I just think that let's just give him a chance, right? Give him a chance. But we have the Colts here.
Sounds like revisionist history, Tay, because if he was remotely good, they're not like, get him out of town. He could be a better backup. In fact, we think Mason Rudolph's better. We've seen him play in a lot of starting games.
Get pushed out of their teams.
Well.
A lot of players get shuffled around. Players are picked up and fired, and same with coaches all the time. And all the time, it's just a revolving door. These teams are. The Colts, though, Ren. Let's get on to the Colts. This team isn't great. I think they're still kind of learning who they are too. You may think, oh, look out, because we have our quarterback situation and we played like crap, that we're in for it. And look out, here comes Indianapolis. But I almost think this, is even an even match based on that. They were kind of in the same situation where they weren't doing great things last week. They lost their game by 2 points. They put up 27, I think. Yeah,
Right.
27. Houston,
Lost
29.
27-29. Yep.
And if you read their beats and stuff, they're like going like, I don't know, this team is kind of up in the air too. So that's good news for me, because I know the Packers can turn around some of their mistakes, some of their problems. Can the Indianapolis Colts, who are a relatively young team? I think so. They have some issues. Like I think, is it the defensive line? You have to remind me, but yeah, they got their own problems, and it is a young quarterback with Richardson, and uh, I think that's in favor for us. They're coming into our town. They're coming into Lambeau Field. It's an away game. I just feel like this is a good matchup here, and I'm not too worried about it. We contained Jalen Hurts last week. They did a good job of that. They kept him in the pocket. They didn't let him run all over us. If you can do that to Jonathan Taylor, keep him inside the tackles, make tackles inside the box there, I think you got a good chance of stopping him. To me, that's kind of like their threat. But if we can contain the running game, I think we're going to be in a good situation here. So I don't know what do you got on the Colts to share with the Packer universe, Ren?
Well, obviously, again, they're dealing with another dual threat quarterback. I think Anthony was 9 for 19. I don't know, like for like a $112 last week. Touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. I want to say off the top of my head. Ran, I think he was 6 for 56 on the ground.
Yep.
Their running game, Jonathan Taylor, he's been a bit of a disappointment the last 2 years. I think he was 16 for like 48 to 3-yard average. Not great.
Yeah, I know.
So on the outsides, you're really looking for, 17, the quarterback. You're Anthony Richardson is the guy you got to be worried about. I mean, if you can now with the 4-3 defense, cover the middle of the field. I mean, it doesn't seem like Jonathan Taylor is going to do a lot. Doesn't have a lot of burst, not a lot of open field stuff. They don't have a plethora of playmakers from the wide receiver position. Obviously, Alec Pierce, he was there. Jaden Reed, I think he was 3 for 125 and a touchdown last week.
Yep.
Anthony Richardson showed off that cannon he has on that one deep touchdown pass to him. I think it was like a 61-yard bomb. Just beautiful in stride, perfect ball. So that's stuff you're going to have to worry about when you're playing single high, you're playing man coverage. He can beat you. So, you got to worry about that too, not just him on the outside. Do you give a guy like Cooper more playing time so that, you've got 17 running on the outsides? Coop's going to come up and put a hit on you, and he's got the speed to do it. So are they going to play that right? Are they going to learn a little bit from, the second half of the Eagles game to say, this is the guy who should be out there. He's earned the time already. When it comes to the Colts defense, this is not a good run defense. But now you're going to, because the Packers have this massively unproven quarterback, they're going to have heavy boxes. So it's going to make it a lot harder for Josh Jacobs to be able to, or anybody else, Emmanuel Wilson, to run the football. That makes it hard on those guys. They're just going to be a couple yards in a cloud of dust. And hey, we're going to be in a box until you can show us Malik Willis can beat you. It's going to take a masterclass coaching piece and play calling piece from Matt LaFleur to put him in position to win this football game, in my opinion. Can Matt do it if he is somehow utilizing whatever talent Malik Willis has to put him in position to squeak out, a 19 kind of 15 kind of win? That's what it's going to take. It's going to be low scoring from the Packers either way. The Colts could easily put up 30 if they want. But at the same time, you could potentially, you play the right kind of game on both sides of the ball, you could squeak one out. It's not something I'm going with the Packers on. I think the Colts, they had 3.5 sacks. The Packers had a whole 5 QB hits last week, Tay. 5. That's not good enough. You're going to need to get the quarterback, put some pressure, take some pressure off the offense. This D is going to need to step up big time.
Yep. I was just going to say the defense needs to rally here and be almost the savior for this game, to be the the aspect that takes the pressure off the offense, so you can
shorten
actually.
that field, get some takeaways, give them
Yep.
those short fields. Even if it ends up in field goals this week, you wouldn't really give a crap if they end up with 12 of those points off of field goals. That's perfect. You get 12 there and one touchdown. You got 7. You got 19. There you go. There's your 19, and you hold them to somewhere under that. That's the only way they can really win it, in my opinion.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. I'm a little worried because of the quarterback situation, but at the same time, I think the Packers have the ability to win this, and it's not only just the coaching, but they have to believe in themselves and execute everything. Just stay in your lane, do your job assignments, execute, and you'll be fine. We got takeovers last week. It was great to see that. Now, did we do anything with those? No, but
I'm a big fan of the takeover, Tay.
The takeovers. Yep. So, yeah, I love it. That's what's got to happen. I don't even know what to talk about the kicking situation.
I thought Braden, outside of that was a big miss. Went off the upright, but he was banging them before that.
Yeah.
So gave you a little confidence where, Anders in the past, he's squeaking stuff in. He's got to adjust it right to left throughout the course of the game with a ball sails on him. At least Braden was, when he was making them, Tay, he's hitting them. So at this point, he shows me enough that I'm still Team Braden. I'm, got his back, but you can't miss kicks, especially early on when you're trying to put yourself out there as the new Packer kicker.
Yeah, and I mean, it hits the upright, it doinks out instead of doinks in. If it doinked in, we'd be still like, hey, this guy's great, right? It's a game of inches, and I don't know if you watched any football this weekend, but the Cowboys, McCarthy was putting his kicker out there every time he could.
That's my fantasy kicker, Tay. I should have had a 71-yarder. I don't even know how many points that is in fantasy football.
He kicks a 66, and they had called a timeout, but he kicked it, and it went through 4 or 5 yards to spare, and then they backed him up 5 yards to 71, and then they didn't do it. But it was McCarthy was putting his guy in a position. You go out there and make this tough kick early, and the commentators, the announcers were saying the same thing. Put your kicker in these situations. So I hope that they don't shy away from pulling him off of a 50+ yard field goal when I don't think he could make it. Get him out there, give him some confidence early. We could ride this guy. The whole season. He could be our.
Well, the next couple of games, Tay, they might really need to ride this guy because they need to shorten the field, and when you get a chance to score, and it might be only field goals, you got to make them. You got to have them. They might be deeper field goals. 100%. Put it on him. And I believe the Cowboys kicker, Tay, was somehow affiliated with soccer, but he was an undrafted free agent as well. So, again, per Wendell, don't draft kickers, Tay.
Yep. Nope. And we believe in that concept for sure. Well, Ren, I've spent a lot of time down here in the grass, as you can see. So I wanted to bring that up again. The field conditions in Brazil are, and I kind of worried about that too, all the people in the middle of that field just back and forth running it up. But they said it was the same type of field as Lambeau with grass and stitched in stuff.
I heard it was a blend field as well, but the way they cut the grass with the length, even the depth of the sod sounds like it wasn't the same, Tay. There's just the stuff they had underneath said blend. Doesn't sound like it was the same. So while it can be the same type of blend, doesn't mean it's set up the same to again, yes, exactly, to put up with the slower pace, slower game of football as opposed to the speed game of football, Tay.
So do you think that this is an issue that needs to be totally corrected? We can't have this happen again, or is this just is this what you deal with? You go around. Are we at a level, Ren, where we need the top echelon of fields, and anything less is unacceptable? You can't play on these things, and people are always talking about turf injuries and all this stuff. Go to grass. Well, grass is a little more difficult, and obviously, this is a kind of a good example. There was a grass field here. We have it. or they had it, right? But yet it's not good enough. Like, are we so far down that road where it has to be super elite or nothing at all?
I think the players got to feel like they don't give a shit today. Like they're lucky, honestly, the Eagles and the Packers, that they didn't come out with more injuries based on how the feet were given away all over the field throughout the course of that football game. And the players union should be mad about it. You know, obviously the NFL is doing this because, again, I heard descriptions of Sao Paulo. It makes New York City feel small. I mean, that's crazy, Tay. But the NFL has to be there in that market. You can't leave that untapped, right? They're not going away from that. You can tell them whatever about player safety. They're going to give you a good answer about how much they care about player safety and field conditions, and they tested out beforehand and did all the right things, you know, here to Sunday. And they're blowing smoke up your where. It's just going to be about building the game, continuing to build, the worldwide following, and there's no way around it.
Friday night games too. It's like
you can't go make these international fields like have the right kind of field for 2 games a year, 1 game a year. I mean, it's just how do you police that, right? They're just going to play the games. Maybe you tell teams, make sure you bring enough cleats, make sure you got the right studs, and be prepared. Field could be different than you're used to.
Right.
And for them, that's good enough. It's good enough.
You could play the old man card. Hey, back in my day when we didn't have all this fancy equipment,
we didn't wear helmets. We didn't even have face masks. Hey, there weren't face masks.
Like what? So what do you say to that when it's like, just go play the game? Everything has to be always heightened and elevated to a perfection that is kind of hard to obtain, and you can't like regulate it very much. And what do you do in this situation? So I get it. If this wasn't our team down there, I'd have been like, whatever, like field. That was a fun game to watch, right? That was a shootout and interesting.
What was it? 29-34 was the final. I don't remember, but it was an entertaining game. That it was a sloppy ass game, but it was entertaining nonetheless.
So if it wasn't my team, I wouldn't care as much as I do, and the field is the field. The both teams are playing on the same field, right? You got the same conditions, and you saw them like
level playing field. Yep,
exactly. So I don't care about that stuff too much. When I hear all the complaints about the field, it's just like whatever. You go, it was grass. If it was turf, I'd be like, that's not right. But whatever.
I'll understand the gripes from the players because they're the ones that have to play on it.
Yep.
That's putting them at risk, not us.
All right, Ren. Colts. Back to the Colts. Drop it on me. You kind of alluded to it, or maybe you've already committed to it, but Packers are winning this one 19-15, or are you going the other way?
Yeah, I'm going to go Colts win this one, Tay. I'm going to say somewhere in the realm of, let's say 25-13.
Dang, I was gonna say something very close. I was gonna say 24-10. But I just feel like the Packers will score more than a touchdown and a field goal. I'm thinking maybe you get a defensive touchdown, maybe, but I'll go a little closer. I'll officially go 22-17. Colts win this one. We're back to having Jordan Love chance to bring him out to Tennessee when we go down there. And hopefully he's back then. Hopefully we don't get a revenge game from either Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill against their former team in week 3. Hopefully we have Jordan Love back. Hopefully we don't even need to get Ryan Tannehill, but I would love to know what everyone else thinks about the quarterback situation. What would you want? Do you kind of agree with Ren here and you'd drop Malik Willis off at the next bus stop, or you ride and die with Goody's decisions, or you want to bring in Tannehill? We would love to hear from you. You can always drop us a line on social media. You can send an email, info@packeruniverse.com. But yeah, Ren, I got nothing else here, so let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here, Tay. I know you got other things you want to do, so until episode 200 Tay and 87 on the pup list.